Today we're taking a look at this extremely overweight, yet surprisingly fast, dangerously fun e-bike. This is the Freedare Saiga Fatbike. So welcome back to the lab, where our opinions cannot be bought. We will leave a link to this bike and any coupons that we're able to squeeze out of Freedare for you guys down in the description below. Now, this bike is sold as an off-road bike. The truth is, it's more of an aggressive commuter. At this point, we've put over 100 miles on this thing. We've taken it on a road trip. We've put it through a bunch of testing. We feel like we have a pretty good grip on what this bike is all about. And we want to share with you guys not only all the things that we found that we absolutely love about this bike, also all the things that we really don't love. Before we get into it, we're going to jump into a super quick 2-minute teardown of the Freedare Saiga for everybody that is not already familiar with this bike. So first up, this bike barely passed the tiny baby lift test. It comes in at a whopping 79 pounds, which is extremely awkward to lift when you're in the shape of a bike. It's got a 960 watt hour lithium ion battery. It's not a lithium iron phosphate battery. That is paired with a 750 watt Bafang motor. And together they're able to get this thing up to 28 miles an hour, both using pedal assist and the throttle. And it has a range of up to 90 miles if you're using the pedal assist on probably the most basic mode. In terms of charging this battery, you can plug it into a regular 120 volt wall outlet and charge it up. And when it comes to components, we're looking at some decent stuff. We got 26-inch wheels with 4-inch wide Kenda tires. It's got dual Tektro hydraulic disc brakes front and rear. It's got a no-name quality fork with dual adjustability, which seems pretty nice. It's got a nice soft seat for the dump truck. It's got a pretty cool headlight. If you get it with the really cool basket on the back like we have, it's also got a tail light. It's got a super sloppy 7-speed drivetrain. When it comes to the screen though, it's a really nice LCD screen. It's bright, it's easy to understand. It shows you your trip, your odometer, your speed, how much power you're using, and the battery percentage. And this thing also has an app. It's cool. It's a little useless, at least to us. It allows you to lock the bike. All that does though is turn the screen off. You can still get on it and pedal it away. It allows you to change some modes. It allows you to track your rides and view a map and do that kind of stuff. Nothing earth-shattering, but it is pretty cool to have an app paired to your bike. And you can get all this for $18.99, but we've seen it as low as $16.99 on Freedare's website. Now, before we jump into all the things that we like and don't like about this bike, we want to start with the results of our testing. And we started that testing with charging. This bike has a 960 watt hour battery bank, and it took 6 hours and 38 minutes to fully charge that when plugged into a regular wall outlet inside of a house. In terms of speed, it advertises 28 miles an hour, which it does easily with both pedal assist and throttle. Although pedaling it at 28 miles an hour is extremely hard because the gearing is so off. You are sprinting to keep that thing at 28 miles an hour. When it comes to torque, this bike lacks a little bit. I wish it was a little bit more peppy, a little bit more fun to rip around. There is quite a bit of lag when you actually hit the throttle between when the bike starts actually moving and then when it starts to actually lay down the torque. Even when this thing's in sport mode, which we've never taken it out of, even in sport mode, it's not the most torquey thing in the world. It's just not super responsive. It takes this bike a total of 17 seconds to get from a dead stop to top speed of what is actually 27.7 miles an hour. In terms of range, it's impossible to know if this bike will go 90 miles for everyone. Depends how fat you are, how fast you pedal. We went ahead and decided to test the throttle only range because, let's face it, if you're riding an e-bike, chances are you're taking as much advantage of the E portion of that bike as possible. And this bike didn't advertise range. So we sent Tiny Baby out on what could have possibly been a death mission to find out the range of this bike. He tried to stop as little as possible.
Blowing it. See ya. Probably not. Probably not. Heard on Thursday, stop signs are optional.
Go up and down as little hills as possible.
I ride these beautiful country roads just past a cemetery. That's probably where I'm gonna end up since I didn't wear a helmet.
And keep that throttle pinned basically the whole time. He was able to ride 28 miles an hour for just over 30 miles before this thing died.
She died at the stop sign, 30.1 miles. Throttle is no longer doing anything. But not bad, 30 miles on this thing?
Honestly, really impressive. It's a huge bike. It weighs 80 pounds. The rolling resistance of those big tires is a lot, and the speed is a lot. Next up, we're gonna spill the beans on everything that we don't like about this bike before we share with you guys everything that we do, starting with the gearing. The 7-speed setup on this bike has got diabetes. It's just the worst. The shifter is literally $3 online. It's like the most base model shifter of all time. The derailleur is sloppy and saggier than your grandma's boobs. It slaps around all over. The chain's always slapping things. The derailleur's slapping the frame. You think with a bike of this magnitude, that's like a fat bike, off-road bike, they would put it like a clutched derailleur or at least a stiff name brand derailleur on there. And the last component of this drivetrain, the gear ratios are atrocious. The lowest gear is still too high to pedal this bike dead up a hill. I don't think that they were thinking about the fact that this bike could die or malfunction on you. Whenever we have tried to pedal this thing around without the battery on, we get fed up really quick. And that comes from two people who ride bikes.
All right, so just got home. Fair warning, if the battery dies on this, this is an absolute pig to get home. It's super heavy and hard to pedal.
The next thing we don't like about this bike is there is no instant torque. It's got a pretty big motor and it goes pretty fast. I wish we got more torque up front. We have a couple other e-bikes with smaller motors that also weigh less and whatever, but when you line this bike up beside some of the other ones that we've been riding, it gets moving the slowest.
Ready, set, go. Like, come on.
Next thing we don't like is you can't see the battery percentage when the bike is charging. You have to rely on the little red light that turns green when it's full. You can't turn the bike on at all when it's plugged in. There's also some exposed wires that make me nervous on this bike. It's rated for all season, but there's wires directly under the frame. I'd be a little nervous about those wires long term. We got ours with the fenders and the little basket on the back because we're real men, and they're not the best. The brackets that hold the fenders are a little dinky, a little cheap. They're flimsy. I have the front fender tightened to the point where the paint actually cracked off the fork, yet the fender still moves around because it's just flimsy. It's just not the best. It results in some rattling sounds and just some weirdness when you're riding it. And the final thing that I just don't like about this bike is that it is not a true fat bike like you would expect if you own a fat bike. If I was looking for an E version of that, this is not it. Even though it's kind of marketed that way, this is not it. This thing feels like it's gonna explode when you're riding it on the forest floor. It's really comfortable on like a gravel trail or on the road. Like as a commuter, it's a sick bike. But as soon as you take it into the woods, it just feels like you don't have a lot of time on that thing before stuff starts to break. Which leads us into the first thing that we really like about this bike. That is, as a commuter bike, it's sick. It doesn't maybe love the forest floor, but it loves a gravel trail or a maintained trail. And that just makes it really, really fun. If you're commuting using a bike, it's a lot more stable and a lot more sturdy than a cruiser bike would be. You can take this thing into a trail and just absolutely shred with it, and it's a lot of fun. It's also very fast. And you should never be riding this bike through the forest without a helmet on. You've been warned, okay? Don't do as I do as I say. We also really like the headlight. Not only is the light really bright, but it also doesn't advertise at all that it has an auto detection for bright and dark environments. If you fire this thing up in the garage without the lights on, the headlight pops on. If you flick the lights on, the headlight goes off. It's kind of cool and handy if you forget to engage it while you're riding around. Sun setting, light comes on. You guys know I'm a big light guy, so I'm not gonna complain about that at all. And as much as we dogged on the app saying it was kind of poo, it has GPS tracking and it has an anti-theft notification. So if someone steals your bike, the app does not prevent someone from stealing your bike. I wish these companies did stuff where the rear wheel lock when you lock the bike so that you can't even roll it, but they don't. So the app will tell you once someone has gotten on and stole your bike, it'll track them and tell you where your bike is so you can go beat them up and take it back. And the last thing that we just really like about this bike is the assembly was super easy and straightforward. It came packaged really well. It came with some tools. You don't have to be a genius to figure out how to put it together, which was nice. At the end of the day, this is a sick commuter bike. It is not an off-road bike and it is not a true fat bike that would replace a fat bike you already have. But that's just our opinion. So let us know yours in the comments down below. If you guys have an e-bike, if you will buy this one. Otherwise, that is all we got for you guys. I will catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out and stay charged.